So this extremely rare and potentially catastrophic event, why isn't the Chief Health Officer here to explain it to Victorians?
Well, the Chief Health Officer has many different things to do, and he'll be getting about doing those things. I don't think it's potentially catastrophic as such. I think that there's every case is important, every case is significant, but I think I've explained the context to this. It's through an abundance of caution that we're assuming, the doctors are assuming, that it is a reinfection. If it is a reinfection, it'll be one of literally, I think it's single figures, might even be less than 5. I'm happy to have others dig out some of the international literature and make sure that it's a feature of the Chief Health Officer's release later on.
Is it decided to resign because of the appearance of conflicting evidence, not because of a finding of the board? Why isn't the Chief Health Officer doing the same?
Well, the board will look at these matters. They are. I think from the hearing yesterday, it's pretty clear that these are very live. They're looking at these issues and others, and I'll leave it to them to make findings or not as they see fit. The Chief Health Officer's got a very important job to do. He's getting on and doing that. He leads a team. It's not just one person. There's a group of them, and I'm grateful to all of them. And on that, but on the basis that these matters, I think it's fair to say, as we are here right now, the board is looking at these issues, and I just don't think it's appropriate that I should be running a commentary on that. There'll be a time for that, though, of course, when the final report's handed down.
You retain confidence in professors?
So we'll go over here first.
Sorry, you retain confidence in Professor Sutton?
Yes, I do.
What do you think about his apparent timeline?
It's not a matter of, I make no judgments about these matters. I've set up an inquiry to answer those questions and to make judgments on those sorts of issues. It's not for me to run two processes, if you like. He's got a bit to get on with, and he's working hard. That's what's most important. The board's doing its job. That's a separate issue, and when they report, we'll be able to have a longer discussion about what it is they find.
Are you concerned that it appears as if he's instructed the department's lawyers not to hand up what would appear to be quite a critical email?
Again, I'm not trying to avoid the question. And you're free to ask it. I don't believe I've got quite the freedom you have to ask it in my answer. So what I'm concerned to do is to make sure that the process is not one that is influenced by anybody in the government. It's at arm's length. It's not finished yet. I know that's frustrating. I'd love them to report tomorrow. But they've got a big job to do, and they're going to be looking at hundreds of thousands of documents and witnesses and all sorts of questions, and they need to be given the time to finish that work.
The line in the letter from the department is that Professor Sutton didn't need the email to clarify his evidence, and therefore the email did not need to be provided. Does that mean that he didn't want the email provided?
I'm not entirely sure what that line means. I'm not involved in the production of that theory or viewpoint or letter. That correspondence comes from lawyers. It doesn't come from me.
Are you aware of him saying emails shouldn't be provided? Are you aware of him saying to anyone you shouldn't send an email?
First I heard of that was when I read it this morning. Again, I don't want to be a commentator, so this is not an invitation for me to become one, but I think the board yesterday made it pretty clear that they want that material, they've sought that material, and as I would fully expect that material will be handed up if it hasn't been already. But I think it was led and tabled yesterday, so I think they've got it, and I'm in no position to make a judgment about those matters, but perhaps the board will. That's an important part of their work.
Would he have had a role in saying what emails should go?
Again, I have made no judgments on those matters. That question was asked. He answered it from this podium a couple of days ago, and beyond that, it's for the independent board, Judge Coate and those who are assisting her, to deal with those issues and many, many others.
And do you think it was okay for a journalist to go and knock on his door? Is that okay?
I've done this for a very long time, and I have never. I'd stand to be corrected, but I don't think I've ever criticised any of you for the work that you do. I don't always like what's on the front page of the paper. I sometimes don't even think it's particularly fair. But that's not the game. Get on and do the job. That's what I do. And I will just say, so I'd hope there was a recognition in this room and others. I don't ring editors. I don't, that's not who I am, right? You got a job to do, go and do it. That's all fine. And people will make their own judgments about whether what's in the papers is accurate or meets with agreement. But I will say this. Was there a shortage of photographs of Brett Sutton? Really? Like, how many photos has been taken of that bloke over the last year? Like, lots, I would have thought. Lots. That's all I'll say.
And if he's a public servant and not a politician, is it a different rule for whether or not someone from the Australian can go and knock on his door?
I don't make the rules for the press.
No, I'm just asking you to make a
I
judgment.
don't make the rules, and I don't try and impose rules. I'll just make the point. I don't know that there was a desperate need for a brand new, fresh photograph of the Chief Health Officer. He has stood here and in other forums on literally hundreds of occasions. I don't need to be drawn any further than that. You guys have got a job to do. As I said, I'm not someone who's on the phone 3 times a day, screaming at journos or editors, complaining about the coverage we get. You do your job, I'll do mine, and people will make their own judgments. That's the approach I've always taken for 20 years now. But you've asked me a question, I've answered it, I think, without crossing that line, which I think is important. Your job is very important. And there are some in my business who spend an inordinate amount of time complaining about the coverage they get. I'm not one of them.
When will Brett Sutton be back to that briefing?
Either him or Alan Cheng will be here when it's appropriate for them to be here. They don't attend every briefing. They attend when there's something material to go through. I don't know when either of them will be here, but they'll be here as and when.
Brendan, are you worried that the focus, intense focus on Professor Sutton, is going to be a distraction from doing his job? Which is a very
No, I
important
don't think
job?
so. I think, in my experience, he's somebody who's very focused on playing his part in getting the numbers down and keeping them down.
Worried about him personally?
No, he's a strong person who I think has shown, as many people have, a steely determination to get the job done.
Given the Board of Inquiries had to come back to seek further information, phone records and further statements from a number of people, are you still confident that everyone in government is fully cooperating as they should be?
Yes, I am. And I'm sure if the board had a different view, they'd freely put that view.